Hello everyone, welcome to the Sight for Wight News on Friday 22nd of November 2019. I'm Howard.
And I'm Francis. On Tuesday the 26th of November, there will be a coffee morning held in support of the charity at the post office in Knighton. All are welcome from 10:30 till 12 noon. The swimming group are swimming at the waterside pool in Ryder from 8 p.m. till 8:45 p.m. The pool is closed to the public whilst the group swims. There are male and female volunteers to help you get in and out of the pool, as well as lifeguards to ensure your safety. To join the swimming group, please call Sight for Wight first to notify us of your swimming ability. You need to register with the office at Millbrook House first to be able to swim with the group. Wednesday the 27th of November, the weekly coffee morning will be held at Millbrook House this week from 10 till 11:30 a.m. There will also be our low vision drop-in between 10 and 12 noon. This is a weekly event to allow you to view and try the low vision equipment we have at Sight for Wight without the need for an appointment. We will be attending the Independent Arts Sing-About session at St Mark's Church Hall, Wootton. The session runs from 2 p.m. till 4 p.m. It is free to attend and refreshments are provided. However, voluntary donations to independent arts are appreciated.
Any other news? Freshwater Library Listening Reading Group. This group usually meets on the second Tuesday of each month, but in December will meet on the first Tuesday, December 3rd, from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. Diaries and calendars. It's time to order your VIP diaries and calendars. Please note that the suppliers of VIP diaries have now imposed a minimum number for orders that we place on your behalf. The final order will be placed on Friday, 6th of December. To place your order, please contact Laura Jasper, members at iwsb.org.uk or phone 522205.
Possible new audiobook group. Alistair has run the Freshwater Library book group for many years and is now looking to start a new one at Sandown Library. If you would be interested in joining the group, please contact Sandown Library on 402748 with your name and contact details. They will pass on your details to Alistair. Days and times to be arranged once we have an idea of interest. Please note that this group is not run by Sight for Wight. We're just advertising on Alistair's behalf. We will be visiting the Isle of Wight Pearl on Monday the 10th of February. On this visit, we will join the Pearl Masterclass, a free, informative talk about pearls. The talk lasts about 30 minutes, and there will also be an opportunity to look around the centre or have refreshments in the cafe. There is no charge for the talk, but minibus may be available depending on location for a donation of £2. Closing date for applications is Monday the 20th of January. For further information or to book your place, please contact the charity on 522205 or email members@iwsb.org.uk. Please note that all activities are subject to demand and availability of volunteers for driving and supporting as sighted escort guides. TV licence scam. We have been advised by one of our volunteers that this scam is saying that your TV licence is running out and needs to be renewed, with a link to click to make payment. They also quote a licence number, but on checking this is fictitious. This has been checked with TV licensing and is definitely a scam. The short story writing competition award ceremony is on Monday the 9th of December at the Riverside Centre, Newport, where the winners will be announced. Doors open at 6:30 p.m, with the ceremony starting at 7 p.m. So if you'd like to come along, then please do so. It's fun, it's festive, it's free. Melvin Hayes will be promoting the ceremony later in the programme. On Tuesday the 3rd of December at 3 p.m, Chris Kane, Marketing, Communications and Fundraising Manager, will be Maggie and Calvin Curry's guest on Vectis Radio for the monthly Insight for Wight programme. Chris will be talking about the short story writing competition award ceremony on Monday the 9th of December. You can tune in to Vectis Radio on 104.6 FM or online www.vectisradio.com. This week's In Touch follows as usual. RNIB sells care homes and colleges. The RNIB is proposing to sell its remaining schools, colleges and residential care homes after taking the decision to close the Pears School in 2018. Peter Wight asks new CEO Matt Stringer how this fits in with its strategy for the future. Presenter Peter Wight, producer Lee Comutat.
Now we move on to coverage in the county press, starting with General Election 2019 from last Friday's edition. The candidates for the Isle of Wight constituency were put 5 different questions. We'll now read those and listen to their responses. Question 1. What is the single most important thing you would aim to achieve as the island's MP? Question 2. What would you do to improve the island's NHS? Question 3. Do you think there should be a fixed link, yes or no? Question 4. What would you do to encourage more young people to stay on the island? And question 5. Did you vote leave or remain? Should we have a second referendum?
Kal Feeney Independent. I was born on the island in 1965. My mother was a nurse, my father a prison engineer. I have a wonderful 18-year-old daughter with my partner of 23 years, Linda. I'm a successful entrepreneur, semi-retired, and have travelled extensively. I adore the island. I'm determined to improve our future. Answer 1. For 5 years I have dedicated myself to campaigning for a fixed link. The island needs one, the mainland too. They're desperate to remove island traffic from the cities. The island needs fast, affordable, reliable 21st century cross-Solent transport as a foundation for success. Building regeneration on sand is pointless. Answer 2. Build the link. This isolated island can't attract qualified NHS staff. Without staff, you have no hospital. It simply can't function. Departments close, other symbiotic departments close. A fixed link will create efficient staff and resource specialist amalgamation with the mainland. With a predicted population rise, it's essential. Answer 3. Of course, the fixed link is essential. Ferry crossings are of a bygone age, and we must evolve to survive. Subsidising or nationalising the 3 operators is not possible. But what would it achieve anyway? We must break free from debilitating ferry company control? Answer 4. Get the Vixx link underway. Before it's finished, it will attract preemptive business and tourism investment to improve the economy, opportunities and wages. Public facilities will be reinstated and island lifestyles will lift exponentially. Without isolation, lecturers will be attracted to an island university and schools. Answer 5. I voted leave, then realised we'd been manipulated by both sides. The Conservatives have caused nationwide chaos and resentment, unable in 3 years to find solutions. I'm open-minded to hear logical arguments against leaving with no deal, but at this time this is my position. Ignoring referenda is dangerous.
Kal Feeney Independent. I'm a vocal, creative person who enjoys learning new things, turning disadvantage into opportunity. I love working with our community. I moved to our island in 1992 with my partner and I'm a local councillor. I live for every day and enjoy politics, sailing and walking our dog. Answer 1. Our island desperately needs investment in an island deal to maintain our island's uniqueness. We must prevent further cuts to our NHS and mental health services. I'm vocally strong, assertive in representing and good at negotiating. I'll bring creativity and our island people's inclusive voice to Parliament. Answer 2. I want government to write off our NHS debt, a millstone which holds it back, and ensure better accountability. I would invest in education and training of new NHS staff and GPs. I'd reintegrate public health within our NHS and prioritise mental health and cross-Solent patient transport for investment. Answer 3. There should be a fixed link feasibility study funded by central government and the outcomes put to island residents in a referendum. The real question is, what kind of environment do we want to live in? A fixed link is not just about connectivity, it's about a way of life. Answer 4. It's healthy for island young people to explore the world and return equipped with new experiences and skills. For those who remain, we need to provide well-paid jobs and diverse learning opportunities. We need creative, rewarding, aspirational employment, access to affordable housing and fun social community activities. Answer 5. It's the duty of our elected member to represent island people's wishes. 62% chose to leave, so we must leave. I'm not in favour of a second divisive referendum. However, it may be the only way forward. I'll honour the people's result. I voted leave.
Vixx, Lothian, Green. I'm a teacher, parent, parish councillor, national spokesperson and listener. I love our island. I have spent 5 years leading campaigns for our schools, hospitals, countryside and local jobs. The island has the best chance of a Green MP in the UK, and I am ready to serve you all. Answer 1. While funding for public services, better connectivity and decent housing for everyone are the essential tasks for any island MP, it is the promotion of the island's biosphere, green industries and small businesses which a Green MP would achieve on day one of being elected. Answer 2. Without the expert care of the staff at St Mary's, myself and my son would not be here today. Our next MP must ensure the Solent is no barrier to accessing healthcare for islanders, support our health professionals and tackle the funding crisis for our publicly run NHS. Answer 3. I would tirelessly pursue all avenues to achieve better connectivity across the Solent. Ferry regulations, subsidies and nationalisation are on the table. No feasibility study on a fixed link should be carried out without a study on the potential impact on housing, traffic health services, environment and jobs. Answer 4. Employment and cultural opportunities on the island have been too limited. I would support community arts and music projects to generate greater social opportunities, and investment in a Green New Deal will provide more jobs in the energy, transport, housing and agricultural sectors. Answer 5. I voted Remain. The two parties have failed the country. We need to trust the people. I support a second referendum on the negotiated Brexit deal. For some islanders, this government's deal is not real Brexit. However, I believe EU membership is the best deal we will achieve.
Daryl, Independent. I had no intention of running in this election. I stepped in at the last moment due to the Brexit Party deciding to withdraw its candidate. I was swayed by the many people who felt a proper Brexit should be on the ballot paper. I am local and experienced. Answer 1. I will deliver Brexit for the 62% of islanders who voted Leave. Only a Leave candidate can win, and the Conservatives are going for a soft Brexit. Boris's deal is just May's version reheated, and Bob Seeley is weak on the issue, having voted to extend Article 50. Answer 2. The island's health service is suffering from a crisis in confidence brought about through weak leadership and poor planning. If we want world-class services, we need a world-class mindset. Money alone will not solve the issue. Patient and carer travel to the mainland should be free. Answer 3. No, I'm not against a feasibility study, although it must be independent and cover the economic, social and environmental impact on the island in great detail. With this report publicly available, we should then hold a referendum on how to proceed. Answer 4. Quality employment and availability of housing are the key areas. We need housing that suits young families, good quality at reasonable prices. We need to get the power from government to set up a special economic zone in order to attract business, something I will champion as MP. Answer 5. I voted Leave. I do not think there should be a referendum, but if there is, it must be between a deal and no deal. Remain is off the table. We voted on that in 2016. Brexit has been badly served by the current MPs and their parties.
Richard Quigley, Labour. I'm 48, married with 2 girls. I'm a qualified engineer, having worked in logistics, strategy and food manufacturing. I moved to the island in 2003. I'm self-employed and run several businesses. We have a dog, 2 cats and 3 rabbits. I like walking and the odd glass of wine. Answer 1. Ferries. Island residents need regular, affordable ferry travel. Answer 2. Fund it on the basis of need. We need to fill the nurse and doctor vacancies, keep GP surgeries open and keep services on the island. We are an island and we need to be funded accordingly. Answer 3. I'm 50-50. I would get the Department for Transport to undertake a fully funded feasibility study and then put it to an all-island vote. Our residents need to decide this issue. Answer 4. We need degree-level qualifications on the island, along with proper vocational apprenticeships to give the same level of access to learning as staying in education. We need to build affordable housing and council homes and a £10 minimum wage. Answer 5. I voted Remain, largely because for most of my 48 years I have been part of a European Union. We have experienced the longest time of peace within Europe for a very long time. As there is no one version of Brexit on offer, the only way forward is another referendum.
Bob Seeley, Conservative. I live in the south of the island and come from an island family with 6 generations of public service behind us. Before being elected, I served in the British Army. My pitch is simple. Vote for Bob Seeley to get on with Brexit and deliver for the island. Answer 1. Do the island deal agreed in principle with the Prime Minister and improve public services? Ensure the £48 million for the NHS and £46 million for Island Line and Ryder Railway Pier are delivered. Nationally, get Brexit done and deliver on people's priorities: the NHS, education, police and environment. Answer 2. Deliver more money as we've done with the £48 million extra investment. Integrate the NHS, public health and adult social care into a model of seamless care. The island can be a national leader. Embrace new technology to drive more compassionate care and improve mental health services. Answer 3. No, it's a red herring. There is no government money for it. It's not viable with private funds. I need to focus on delivering real improvements now, as I've been doing on the NHS, the Island Line, and getting the island recognised as an island by Whitehall. Answer 4. Improve higher education and our skills base, attract employers and build homes for islanders by delivering a better island plan. I'm working on all of these things. We need to prioritise housing building for islanders and protect our green spaces. Answer 5. I voted leave, like 62% of islanders. I'm asking all those islanders who voted leave to support me, because we don't need a second referendum. We just need to respect the referendum we had. A vote for me is a vote to get Brexit done. Now, from the county press for today, Friday, November the 29th. The main headline is Hunt clamped down after dog attack. A terrier that savagely bit a woman while exercising with the Isle of Wight hunt hounds is reportedly still causing trouble in the Gatcombe area. Following the incident, which the county press reported in July, an agreement was made between the Isle of Wight Council, Chillerton and Gatcombe Parish Council, police and huntmaster Rupert Inglesant clamping down on exercising the hounds in public. A route has been stipulated, along with specific times they can be taken out. A 55-year-old Gatcombe man was given a conditional caution following a police investigation into the terrier attack. The woman suffered an injury to her leg and her dog was also attacked. Although the terrier was exercising with the hunt hounds, it's not owned by the hunt. A police spokesman said, "The conditions are that he must pay any vet bills for the victim's dog as a result of the bite. His dog must be muzzled in public and the dog must not be exercised with the hounds." However, the county press has been told by a Gatcombe resident that on November the 10th the terrier, without a muzzle or lead, ran into a property on New Barn Lane. The woman said it terrified the owner, who recognised it as the hunt terrier that had been attacking both people and dogs locally, and she shut herself in the stable. Her partner then shouted at the dog and defended himself with a broom until the dog's owner turned up. Another resident said she and a friend had also been attacked by the terrier on 2 separate occasions. Police have been informed of the incidents. A meeting was held between police and concerned residents on November 14th. One said those present were asked not to contact the county press, acclaimed the police dispute. A police spokesperson said, "I can confirm police have received allegations the dog has breached its conditional caution. Inquiries remain ongoing in relation to this." The resident who spoke to the county press said she still had concerns about the hunt exercising in Gatcombe, and she had not had the courage to walk alone since hearing about the original attack. She said 30 unleashed exuberant foxhounds with 2 helpers has been demonstrated as woefully insufficient. Having published set times for exercising them, does that mean the public takes some blame if they exercise their right to use public rights of way if they too are injured by hunt dogs? The Countryside Alliance has issued a statement on behalf of the Isle of Wight foxhounds. It said, "The hunt continues to work with the local community to ensure their legal hunting activities and hound exercise do not cause any disruption or leave any cause for concern. The Joint Masters would be delighted to meet any local residents who would like to know more about their activities and would welcome the opportunity to show them around the kennels to explain their daily routine. They declined to comment on the terrier as it was not owned by the hunt. In other news, the hunt has not been allowed to use National Trust land on the Isle of Wight this hunting season. The hunt organisers failed to submit the required documentation, so a licence has not been granted. Robin Lang, countryside manager for the Isle of Wight National Trust, confirmed we didn't receive all the required documentation by the stipulated deadline. In an email to a member of the public seen by the county press, the Trust said the decision was unconnected to the terrier attack. It said the Trust issues very strict terms and a code of conduct for all hunts taking place on National Trust land, which are actively monitored, and does not permit terriers to accompany any hunts. For matters unconnected to the incident, we have decided not to issue a licence for the 2019-20 season. Forestry England, which owns several parcels of land on the island, has confirmed dates for forthcoming hunts and said permissions were in place.
Murder probe launched. A murder investigation has opened in France after an 86-year-old island woman was found dead in a car which was about to board a ferry in Calais. Her son, 53, who was driving, has been admitted to a psychiatric hospital in the town. He is also believed to be from the island. It appears the car was ready to board the ferry back to the UK last Friday when the woman's body was discovered inside. The Times newspaper reported Pascal Marconville, the prosecutor in Boulogne-sur-Mer, near Calais, said a murder inquiry had been launched because police had discovered bruises on the woman's body. He said the mother and son, who have not been named, were from the island and had 3 properties in France.
The island's oldest church organ has been saved from fire thanks to the swift actions of the congregation, vicar and firefighters. The wooden organ at St Mary the Virgin Church, Brading, caught fire on Sunday morning, just as the congregation was settling for the opening hymn. The church has now appealed for help towards the upkeep of the organ, which was only recently refurbished thanks to a considerable legacy. Reverend Alison Morley told the county press, "We noticed a thin stream of smoke coming from the back and the smell of burning plastic. Mindful of how quickly this could become a major issue in an ancient wooden organ, we immediately called the fire brigade. They removed a red-hot old motor that will have to be repaired." The congregation proceeded to the hall to have the service and enjoyed a cosy time accompanied by the smell of bacon butties that were being prepared for the after-service Sunday brunch. The incident has reminded us how precious the church is and how fragile. The organ is one among many historical treasures the church holds for the people of Brading and the many visitors. Any help towards its upkeep is gratefully received through the new Friends of St Mary's charity. We apologise that the church will be closed for a week for electrical testing and repairs, but we hope to be fully up and running for our Christmas celebrations, starting with the Christmas Tree Festival on the weekend of December 5th. Fire crews from Ryder and Sandown attended the church at 9:32 a.m. on Sunday.
£2,000 blue badge fine. A Ryde woman was ordered to pay almost £2,000 after she was caught using her elderly mother's blue badge in Southampton, despite having a badge of her own. Suzanne Wilson used her 89-year-old mother's disabled badge to park for free at Gloucester Square car park. But during a hearing at Southampton Magistrates Court, it was revealed the 57-year-old had her own badge. Parking chiefs at Southampton City Council suggested to the court Wilson was using her own badge on the Isle of Wight. Last Friday, Wilson, who pleaded guilty to 5 counts of unlawful use of a disabled person's badge, was handed a court bill of nearly £2,000. The court heard Wilson's silver Ford Mondeo came to the attention of wardens in April 2019. It was seen parked in the same car park, displaying the same badge 5 times between April and June. When they inspected the serial number, they found it was registered to Wilson's mother, who was living at a nursing home at the time. They also noted football boots and sports clothing in the front passenger footwell of the car. Parking investigators began a probe and later invited Wilson to an interview under caution, which she declined. In a written response, she confirmed she was the driver. Wilson also said she thought she could use her mother's badge as it was registered to her car. However, a City Council prosecutor said, "The Citizens' Advice website makes it clear a blue badge is registered to a person and not a vehicle. As the defendant is a blue badge holder in her own right, she should be more aware of the rules. A possibility is she was using her own blue badge to park in a restricted area on the Isle of Wight." Wilson of Binstead Lodge Road, who was not present at the hearing, was fined £243 for each blue badge misuse. She was also ordered to pay costs of £490, the £50 cost of the parking tickets she avoided paying, and a victim surcharge of £30.
Giving a new meaning to the phrase pay as you go, card machines are to be installed at a public toilet block in Newport. Plans to revamp the toilets in Post Office Lane off the High Street have moved a step closer after an application for an extra cubicle and payment machines was approved by the Isle of Wight Council. The initial plans to demolish the existing toilets and build 3 new Danfo cubicles were submitted by Newport and Carisbrooke Community Council, that's the NCCC, and approved in April. The area around the toilets will be enhanced with seating and attractive landscaping. NCCC has taken on the management of the toilets from the council and proposed a charge of 20p. The new toilets will be cheaper to clean and maintain, potentially saving NCCC around £8,000 a year. It's also expected to earn £6,500 a year, a projection based on the initial 3 cubicle plan from an average of 625 people using the facility each week, paying 20p a time.
Memory of soldiers kept alive. The memory of 4 soldiers killed in a tragic accident at Fort Redoubt on June the 25th, 1901, is being kept alive by a freshwater man who is now trying to contact their families. Simon Hatch has tended their graves in the cemetery tucked away at the back of All Saints Church, Freshwater, for the last 3 years, after discovering the history of the explosion, which cost the soldiers their lives. Royal Artillery soldiers Captain Arthur Le Mesurier Bray, 33, Gunner Charles Dornan, 20, Gunner Charles Ricketts, 29, and Bombardier Murdoch MacDonald, 23, were sent to Fort Redoubt on the cliff overlooking Freshwater Bay as part of a 20-man training detail. They were shooting at moving targets at sea with a 12-pounder quick-firing gun when disaster struck. The breech block at the back of the gun exploded and was blown out, killing the 4 and injuring 6 others. Simon, who runs Arbor Vitae tree surgery and garden services, has lived at Fort Redoubt, the home of the Smith family, for 12 years and helps look after the building. He said, "There was a big troop population in the West Wight, based at the various forts, Victoria, Albert and Golden Hill. They were taking part in a training exercise at Fort Redoubt when the accident happened. Other soldiers were seriously injured and lost limbs. More than 1,500 soldiers paraded at the funeral, marching behind the caskets as they made their way through Freshwater to All Saints. When I first heard about it, I was fascinated by the story and decided to follow it up.
Kindhearted Tau Coxon has set himself a target to buy 200 island children a gift for Christmas. Tau, aged 10, has organised a raffle to raise money for the Isle of Wight radio's Christmas toy appeal. He sought help from his mum Caryl, who runs The Price is Wight, to secure a selection of fantastic prizes, including Isle of Wight festival tickets, shop, restaurant and beauty vouchers, Christmas goodies and Wight karting sessions. Tau said, "Sadly, so many girls and boys on our island don't get any gifts at Christmas. This makes me very sad. I want to make a difference, so I set myself a goal to raise enough money to buy 200 people a nice gift and make their Christmas special. I've been doing chores at home to collect some money, and I've been selling old clothes I don't need and my old toys I no longer use. Tickets can be purchased through the Price is Wight website for just £1 each. The draw takes place in December. Since the toy appeal was launched, around 20,000 gifts have been given to children in care, youngsters in hospital and those in poverty. Gifts can be dropped off at Isle of Wight Radio at Dodner Park."
Extra benefit plea rejected. Council tax benefit changes have been approved by the Isle of Wight Council, but a plea for an extra 5% reduction to help those who need it most was rejected. Members last week approved a new scheme aimed at saving the authority almost £150,000, giving universal credit claimants a reduction on their council tax bill of 20 to 70%.
The Coxon of Freshwater Independent Lifeboat has spoken about his frustration after the charity has spent around £70,000 trying to get its main boat back on station this year. Tony Moore has apologised to fundraisers who continue to raise thousands of pounds to maintain the lifeboat operation. Speaking after the AGM earlier this month, held at the HF Holidays Hotel, Freshwater Bay, he said, "The Spirit of West Wight has been off station for most of the year for a variety of maintenance problems. Some of them date back to when we first commissioned it. There have been problems with rewiring, and earlier this year we found out we needed a new engine. We've been lucky because our smaller D-class has been operational on a regular basis and we've attended a lot of shouts. We also have lots of youngsters who are encouraged by our stalwarts like Ray Scott, Martin Gould and Dave Kempster. But it's so frustrating to be asked by people why the lifeboat isn't operating. I have to answer to all our fantastic fundraising team who do so much for us. It's humbling because we're surrounded by so many wonderful people. I'm hoping the lifeboat will be back in action again in the next few weeks, but it's a wait-and-see situation."
Council no-show at school meeting. Tempers flared at a public meeting to discuss the ongoing West Wight schools saga, but those who will make the final decision did not show up. More than 50 residents attended the meeting held at the Community Hall of Yarmouth and District on Tuesday, where Yarmouth Town councillors slammed the proposed closure of their village primary school. The Isle of Wight Council said last month All Saints Primary School, Freshwater, would close next summer. Yarmouth Primary School would then close and move to the Freshwater site, where a new school would be built. Councillors and officers were invited to the meeting, but did not attend. Yarmouth Mayor, Councillor Steve Cowley, said the Town Council still had concerns about the future of the school. He said, "For the governors to propose the move was wrong. They could fight the proposals if they wanted to, but they are not minded to. I still think there may be other options and we should consider a way forward." One parent said she was considering homeschooling her 2 children because she felt really let down by governors and their lack of communications with parents. Tina Griffiths, a Federation governor, said she had attended the meeting as an independent party, but could not sit by silently. She said, "The local authority have put a gun to our heads. They left us no options. When we had a meeting with the council, they said they would put a new head teacher and staff in the school. Many of us left that meeting in tears." One resident said Shelfleet Primary School should be moved to the freshwater site instead because there was no community there. A show of hands found that the majority of attendants supported this idea. The meeting heard 2 Shelfleet parish councillors had also supported the proposal. Isle of Wight councillor Stuart Hutchinson attended the meeting in his capacity as the West Wight ward member and said he would do whatever was necessary behind the scenes to help save the school. He said, "I would like to see a school stay in Yarmouth. The problem we have is there are 5 county councillors that represent the West Wight, and the others are not particularly supportive." One concerned parent said, "This is about the whole of the island. We have a lot of love in this community and the ability to pass this great school on to the next generation. I do not want to lose this school, not like this." Jill Cowley, a former teacher, said the council had not considered the impact moving the school would have on the community. She said, "If they must close the school, it must not be Yarmouth." A council consultation on the closure of All Saints closes at midnight tonight, Friday. The proposal to relocate Yarmouth Primary School is being consulted on by the governing body of the Federation of the Church Schools of Shelfleet and Yarmouth. A council spokesperson said, "The council will consider all responses in relation to the proposed closure of All Saints before final decisions are taken in January."
A soldier who ran away after crashing his car has appeared in court. Joshua Langley, 24, was involved in a collision at St John's Avenue, Ryde, in the early hours of October 13th, in which 2 other cars were damaged. Langley, of Jubilee Close, Freshwater, admitted 1 count of failing to report a road traffic accident when he appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court. Prosecutor Anne Smout said it was a 3-car collision. The driver of one of the vehicles and 2 women were seen running away. 2 females later attended St Mary's Hospital, saying they had been in the crash. The next morning, Mr Langley appeared at Ryde Police Station to inform them he had been involved in the same incident. Blatantly, if someone doesn't have something to hide, they should remain at the scene to exchange details and speak with the police. Langley, who defended himself, said, "I was worried about myself, so I just ran away. I went to the police station the next morning when I was feeling more myself. The 2 passengers turned out not to be hurt at all, and I haven't been in trouble for a long time now. I'm not one to go out and start trouble." Presiding Magistrate Jane Watson said, "You're a trained man in the army. You should know what you have to do in moments such as this, and you're going to have to learn from it." Langley was fined £450 and ordered to pay court costs of £85 and a surcharge of £45. He was also issued 8 penalty points on his licence.
In brief, Ryder hurt in crash. Police have issued a witness appeal following a crash that left a 71-year-old motorcyclist with serious head injuries. The motorcyclist, who was riding a green and white Peugeot Django, was found in the road at Saunders Way, East Cowes, shortly before 11 a.m. on Monday morning by a member of the public. It is believed the crash happened only moments before. Anyone who saw the crash or the rider before it happened can call the Roads police team on 101, quoting Operation Tax.
That concludes the first part of your talking newspaper for today. Goodbye, best wishes from Howard.
And from Francis.
Hello, this is Madeline.
And this is Alison.
And we're reading the second part of the County Press for Friday, November the 29th. Starting with letters. Education Madness from Stuart Brown in Ryde. As a father of a child in an island preschool attached to a primary school, which is rated good by Ofsted, I was concerned to read about the policies of Labour and the Greens to scrap the assessment body. Like many parents, I have used Ofsted ratings to help make an informed choice where to send my child, and am doing so again when considering a primary school for September 2020. Worse than this, they also seem to want to scrap tests, league tables and the national curriculum. I found this hard to believe, but then I read their manifestos. It is staggering these left-wing parties think these policies either make sense or are likely to be popular with parents. We all want our children to have the best possible start in life. Holding schools to account for their performance helps to achieve this. It appears Labour and the Greens would prefer us to sink into a culture of mediocrity where we have no idea how well either our children or their schools are performing. This benefits no one, surely. I would urge every parent to make themselves aware of these dangerous plans before it is too late. The threat to island schools is seemingly clear. If I have got this wrong, I would urge candidates to quickly give an explanation as to their party's manifestos on the subject.
Why do we keep shouting to tourists to stay away? From Martin Herman Merston. I live on the Isle of Wight. Ah, yes, I've been there when I was a kid. Sounds familiar? Well, we are not helping ourselves with some very short-sighted attitudes and policies with regards to the island's most important trade, tourism. 3 issues are coming to mind, which, presently, shout to tourists to stay away. Number 1, the price of our ferries. Tourists interested to visit the island will have to first overcome the first hurdle by being able to get to the island. As is well known to all, the ferry companies are vastly overpriced, putting many tourists off from coming to the island in the first place. The island gets starved from their desperately needed trade, as tourists recognise it may well be cheaper to go on a holiday abroad than to venture across. Number 2, the cost of parking. In a recent letter to the editor, a tourist wrote that they will not be coming back to the island after they have been one of the many victims of our notorious parking schemes. Why lure tourists to the island and then sting them with nasty parking fees? You can't blame them not wishing to take back such souvenirs back home with them. 3. Traffic chaos around Newport. The thought of developing St Mary's Roundabout into another Coppins Bridge traffic light fiasco is making islanders literally go round the bend. St Mary's functions very well, and hundreds of islanders have told the council they don't want this roundabout changed. Also, the number of traffic lights in some places seems over the top. In Church Lytton in Newport, I counted 18 plus traffic lights where probably 4 would have sufficed. Why? Any traffic lights at main traffic flow locations should, today at the very least, be of the intelligent sensor type to reduce mindless waiting around, frustrating tourists and islanders alike. Is it really any wonder that tourists may opt to go on holiday elsewhere? Let's do something about these issues. It's not too late, but we do need to do something about them.
Next MP should look at airport, from Thomas Munro, London. Last year I suggested the island could really benefit from having a commercial airport. The need now is greater than ever. The ferries seem to be getting daily more unreliable, with ever increasing numbers of cancellations and delays. What can you do if you still need to get off the island urgently? maybe a ferry will still be running somewhere, but you've got to get to it, so you would still be delayed by an hour at least. However, by this time you may well have missed that funeral, flight, business meeting, etc., due to no alternative options. To make matters worse for people getting to and from the island, South Western Railway are on strike again for practically all of December. Yet another reason why alternative options to get to and from the island are desperately needed. If there were flights, there would at least potentially be another option that many people would prefer, as it would be much quicker and often cheaper to get to their final destination. This past year, the Channel Islands have launched new routes to Liverpool, Manchester, Newquay, Bristol, Newcastle, London and more. The flights are occasionally £28 return to most of these destinations, but are regularly only about £60 return. It would be worth trying just a few flights a day to Heathrow and or Gatwick for a year or two to see if it is viable. Indeed, the government may well fund this under their PSO, Public Service Obligations. Newquay, Derry and Dundee are recent examples of recipients of this funding. A feasibility study at Bembridge Airport is needed before progress can be made. This they have agreed to cooperate with. Solent LEP have indicated it may be able to assist with funding for the airport expansion itself. I do hope our next MP will make this project a priority, as I truly believe it will benefit the island in so many ways. If you agree, please contact me in the following ways: www.facebook.com/Isle of Wight Commercial Airport.
Please sort out polling problem, from Charles Gange, Cowes. This election highlights the lack of, or at least perceived, investment by the Isle of Wight Council in its community. Living at the same address for many years, I have now been allocated my third polling station venue, Northwood Cricket Club. I have no wish to prejudice its members, but again, as with the previous venues, the access, which may have prompted the change, is less than satisfactory, particularly as it is a public event and for pedestrians. There will be around 6 hours of darkness within the polling time, and the 4 approaches to the entrance of this club, some way from the various roads, are unlit, and the main route, off the very busy Park Road, poorly maintained and shared with vehicles. This arrangement in the hours of darkness would very likely discourage voters from visiting. I remain baffled as to why, after all these years of democracy, our electoral system remains so rudimentary, with no proper facilities provided for voters. It always appears to be a scramble by the electoral services to find anything they think will suffice without any real thought or risk assessment, as appears in this case. Why hasn't the council, over the years, engaged, encouraged and financially helped by these clubs and facilities so that they can have in place a decent pedestrian and vehicle access and part of a building which can be quickly reverted to a polling station? For safety purposes, at this poll on December the 12th, there should, at a minimum, be lighting on the approach paths to the station, and I suggest traffic control at the junction with Park Road.
We need more foreign doctors, from Peter Russell, Freshwater. I have just seen a party advert that said, "Get Brexit done and make it easier to see your GP." The fact I cannot get an appointment to see my GP is because only 25% of the doctors in the NHS are foreign nationals, and the government has not done enough to encourage more to come to the UK. When xenophobia ceases to be an election winner, voters will be worthy of democracy. Until then, they will have to put up with the government they deserve.
Lib Dem's stance is staggering, from Graham Bennett, Northwood. I find Nick Belfit's vision of democracy absolutely staggering. Ever since the referendum in 2016, all 4 successive leaders of the Lib Dem anti-democratic party have vowed to cancel Brexit, in spite of the referendum result, with the current leader even saying she would still oppose the result should a second vote be consistent with the first. Your party have not finished there. You have now joined forces with a minor party with the sole intention of hindering another party. No, Mr. Belfit, this is not the way democracy works.
What does Jeremy Corbyn mean? From J. Gibbons, Ryder. Jeremy Corbyn announces today the US wants access to the NHS as a condition of a trade deal. What on earth does this mean? Doesn't it have access already? Or to put it another way, hasn't the NHS got access to worldwide, including US, drug manufacturers? Is the NHS perhaps limited to EU manufacturers? No wonder it's in big trouble.
Wight Memories. Death of the Idiot in the Workhouse by Brian Greening. Today, those of my generation have to be so careful of the words we use in order not to cause offence. We were a generation brought up on Alf Garnett, It Ain't Half Hot Mum, and on the buses, to say nothing of the black and white minstrels, which will never be repeated on television today, even though in their day they were among the most popular television shows. In Queen Victoria's reign, however, they were not so fussy, and when it came to describing those with mental illness, little care was taken. It was nothing to read of hospital wards being described as for idiots, imbeciles and lunatics. Indeed, Whitecroft Hospital on the old maps is described as a lunatic asylum. This was the type of language used around 1870, a time when the name of Beckinsale was well known in the island's capital. William Beckinsale, who lived at Fairley House, was at the time of his death in 1907 described as the oldest practising solicitor in England, entering the profession in 1835. Living in Lugley Street was brother John Edgar Beckinsale, who in 1877 was the senior medical officer at the workhouse at Parkhurst. Life for this gentleman, however, was about to change dramatically when a patient from Brading died while under his care. Edward Cooper, aged 23, who was born mentally handicapped, was admitted to the workhouse in mid-February 1877. 2 weeks previous to this, his father had died. His mother was then left alone to give her full-time attention to Edward, which made it impossible for her to work, and as such, she was forced to care for him with an allowance of just 2 shillings a week.
Friends persuaded her to get her son into the workhouse, where he would be well treated and where she could visit him on a weekly basis. This was reluctantly done, and when Edward was admitted, he was said to be, his mental state notwithstanding, in good health. Within 4 weeks, however, he was dead, and an examination of his body post-mortem showed that he had severe bed sores and was in an emaciated condition. In short, there were accusations that he had been starved to death by means of neglect. Headlines in newspapers at the time included, "Idiot starved to death in the Isle of Wight workhouse." A government board of inquiry was set up, composed of mainland gentlemen, thus avoiding any suggestions of a cover-up. Those under scrutiny included the male and female nurse who had been attending Edward, the deputy medical officer, who had just happened to be Mr. Beckinsale's son, and Mr. Beckinsale himself. It was found that statements made in the logbooks by the 2 nurses with regard to the food the deceased had eaten in the 2 days prior to his death were untrue, and other evidence given by these 2 members of staff was found to be unreliable. It was resolved that both should be dismissed forthwith for dereliction of duty. When Mr. Beckinsale was questioned, he informed the inquiry that he had held his position in the workhouse for 30 years.
When asked about Edward Cooper, he described him as being a perfect idiot of the very lowest type that he had ever seen in the house. The inquiry took several days, and the upshot was that Mr. Beckinsale was asked to resign. As for his son, his deputy, the workhouse had no jurisdiction over him, as he had been employed by his father. However, it was stated that the Board of Guardians would decline in the future to employ him in any official capacity connected with the administration of medical relief to the poor. Later in the year, Mr. Beckinsale Sr. asked to address the board, where he thanked them for their support over the years, and then officially handed in his resignation. The reverberations of this inquiry continued for some time, and without doubt it would have been a local scandal. However, the gentry, as they always do, decided to close ranks, and so it was in May 1878 that his ex-colleagues on the Board of Guardians, who were the administrators of the workhouse, met and sent a letter to the Central Board, who had sat in judgment on the death of Edward Cooper. They wrote stating they felt Mr. Beckinsale and his son had been harshly treated, the letter being signed by 33 local medical men and 27 clergymen.
In response, the Central Board stated they would give sympathetic consideration to any claim made to grant their late employee a pension, which was later agreed to be set at £40 a year. Needless to say, Mr. Cooper's mother was not asked to comment, and no mention was made of the 2 nurses who had lost their jobs. It appears that Mr. Beckinsale's position within the town was little affected, as for several years he continued to be a senior magistrate within the borough. He died 8 years after his public humiliation in 1885. At his funeral, his coffin was followed to the graveside in Newport Cemetery by the mayor and all the members of the town council, with the town sergeants carrying the maces draped in black. Some might say that for the treatment he oversaw of Mr. Cooper and his apparent dismissive attitude, he was undeserving of such civic respect. His wife, who outlived him by 11 years, was the daughter of William Thatcher, the man credited with bringing foxes onto the island and the owner of the first pack of foxhounds here. On a lighter note, and on the theme of words used in the past, in 1884 the county press reported on a case of breach of promise brought against a Newport taxidermist. He had lost the case and was ordered to pay a total of £100 plus £12 cost to the lady, a sum which bankrupted him. This was early in the life of the new county press, and the editor had not yet gotten to know his staff, for one reporter had referred to the taxidermist in print as a bird stuffer. I could not possibly comment.
My view. Proof you can teach an old cat new tricks. Last weekend I did a spot of majiggering. No, it's not a rustic two-step of the type performed by hanky wafting Morris dancers, nor is it the kind of activity undertaken by the sexually liberated in the island's more remote car parks. Majiggering is, in fact, the process by which 2 ends of the same piece of silver wire are manipulated together to create a seamless join. I learnt this technique and its name at a silver bangle making workshop run by jewellery designer and maker Jennifer Holloway Bridges at Jubilee Stores, Key Arts Creative Studios in Newport. Anyone who has met me will see I love jewellery. I positively jingle-jangle, kinda like Mr. T if he were a middle-aged white woman, although I do have a similarly questionable hairstyle. I love a bit of bling and feel naked without rings on my fingers and in the summer rings on my toes. Having the opportunity to learn how to design and make a bangle, which I then got to keep and wear, was too irresistible. At the workshop, I wielded a rawhide mallet, rattled my planishing hammer, and controlled a flaming torch to solder that majiggered join. At the end of the day, I had a beautiful bangle hung with 4 silver charms, which chattered together as I moved my arm. But I haven't always been so keen on being taught a lesson. On my last day of school, I stuck 2 fingers up at my old institution as I walked through its gates that one last time, pleased I would never be forced to learn anything again. Of course, it didn't work out like that. Within weeks, I was striding in through the doors of Portsmouth Art College, where I spent 4 years learning how to be an industrial designer. What they don't tell you about life, or at least no one sought to enlighten me, is once your formal education is over, it's fun to learn and grow and develop skills and experience. Since moving to the island, with the help of adult education classes, I've become a skilled potter, been instructed how to make a stained glass window, printed an anarchic poster using letterpress techniques, and of course made that precious bangle. Thirsty for knowledge, I also went back to college in 2004, and alongside my day job, spent 2 years in what gubbers might call night school, upgrading my design skills to emerge blinking into the light as a qualified graphic communicator. And last month, I used those now long-established graphic design skills to produce a publication extolling the merits of studying on the Isle of Wight. You may think that local higher education might be all about hospitality and sailing. However, in producing the booklet, I discovered it's possible to study here up to master's degree level, and you don't have to be a nipper to continue your education. I am proof it is possible to teach an old cat and others new tricks.
And now for some of our local news. And first of all, some things in the South Wight area. The Shoestring Players will present a Christmas musical event at the East Dean Centre, Bonchurch, next Friday, that's December the 6th, from 6:45 p.m. Sensational seasonal entertainment and a sumptuous supper. Tickets cost £25 and are available on 852 374. The Pied Piper is coming to Shorewell. The Village Panto will be held on December the 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th. Tickets are on sale at the village shop. Pop-up cafes will be held at the Green Room, Salisbury Gardens, Ventnor on Wednesday, and Falcon Cross Hall, Shanklin, next Friday, December the 6th. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for people who have lost loved ones. Organisations including Citizens Advice, Southern Housing Group, Cruise, Wessex Cancer Trust, Out on an Island, Widowed and Young, and the Good Grief Trust will be on hand to offer advice. Sandown and Shanklin Military Band, under the direction of Mary Teague, will perform at St John's Church, Wroxall on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Free admission with a retiring collection. Excuse me. The Alzheimer's Cafe takes place on Thursday, 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at St Wilfrid's Parish Room, Trinity Road, Ventnor. A free informal meeting for people living with dementia, their families, friends and carers. No need to book. Bryston Primary School children celebrated National Poetry Day by taking a trip to a local landmark, the Dragon Tree, which recently came third in the Woodland Trust's Tree of the Year competition. During the Poetry Day, which was also attended by parents and grandparents, the children worked together to write poems about the tree. Teacher Rebecca Lennon said, "The children created a range of poetry, including descriptive poetry and shape poems. They also created artwork of the dragon tree, which is now on display alongside some of their poems in Bryston Community Library." Upper Ventnor Community Association will hold a bingo night at St Margaret's Hall at 7:30 on Thursday.
A Christmas evening will be held at Lord Louis Library, Newport, on Thursday, 6:30pm to 8pm. Snacks, drinks, carols, a quiz and a raffle. Free tickets available at the library help point. An exhibition opens at the Museum of Island History tomorrow, Saturday, entitled A Tale of Two Shipwrecks. Enjoy family activities and bring along your archaeological. An exhibition opens at the Museum of Island History tomorrow, Saturday, entitled A Tale of Two Shipwrecks. Enjoy family activities and bring along your archaeological finds to be identified. The museum will be open between 10am and 1pm, and entry will be free on the day. The Isle of Wight branch of the Royal Air Force Association will meet at the Riverside Centre, Newport, at 7:30pm next Monday, December the 9th. For details, call Peter Cobb on 298851. The Isle of Wight branch of the Royal Naval Association meets on the first Tuesday of the month at the Simeon Arms Ryde at 7:30pm. Shipmates are invited to come along for a noggin and natter. For further details, please call Dave Brown on 617754 or email davidbrown.iow165@btinternet.com. St Helens Health Walks take place every Wednesday from 10am to around 1pm. Meet at the Sports Pavilion on St Helens Green. The walks are varied, usually between 4 and 8 miles, and take place around the St Helens, Seaview, Bembridge and Brading areas.
Christmas trees galore at popular Bryston event. The 23rd annual Bryston Christmas Tree Festival promises to be bigger and better than ever. Around 250 themed decorated Christmas trees will be on show at 8 different venues in and around the village next weekend. Organiser Chris Goodman said, "There is so much happening. We have craft fairs, a weekend mini market, concerts galore, a Santa's grotto, face painting, craft demonstrations and free park and ride from Isle of Wight Pearl. There is also lots of musical entertainment and obviously the sensational display of Christmas trees. There is something for everybody and it's a great day out for the family. There is free admission to all venues, donations to charity welcome. The event opens on Wednesday, December the 4th, with a Light Up Life carol service at St Mary's Church, Bryston, starting at 7pm. The tree lights will be switched on by Nigel Hartley, Chief Executive of Mountbatten. Trees will be on show at St Mary's Church, Bryston, Methodist Church, Bryston, Wilberforce Hall, Three Bishops Pub, the Reading Rooms, Mottiston Church, Isle of Wight Pearl, and the new venue, the Sun Inn at Holverston. Santa will be in his winter wonderland at the Isle of Wight Pearl on Saturday and Sunday, December the 7th and 8th. Also on those days there will be open-air performances of Dickens' Christmas Carol with local actors depicting the classic in and around North Street. There will be a 15-minute performances on Saturday at 10:30 and 2:30 and Sunday at 3:30. Free programmes with details of all events and bus timetables are at all venues.
Tapland promises Santa and all things Christmassy. Tapnell Farm is wishing visitors a Merry Christmas this year with a cracker of an adventure. It is opening a new Christmas experience, Tapland, in search of Santa. The magical all-weather Christmas fun is open for children of all ages, with stories, interactive puzzles and treats to enjoy, and a personalised letter from Santa when tickets are booked online. To find the jolly man in the red suit, elves will lead visitors through the wonderment of Christmas, getting closer to Santa the more puzzles you solve. Families can spend the rest of the day exploring the park, complete with a festive roller skating rink, elf yoga, gingerbread decorating and more. Tapland Christmas Experience starts on Saturday, December the 7th and is open every Saturday and Sunday up to Christmas, plus Friday, December the 20th and Monday, December the 23rd. The Christmas lights at Tapnell will be lit on Sunday from 3 p.m, where a choir, elf antics and Christmas treats with special guest Santa will be on show.
On Wednesday and Thursday, Ventnor Film Society is screening historical drama Balloon at 7:30 p.m. Native to Germany, the film captures the true adventure of two families, desperate to leave the DDR for the West, who hatch a crazy plan to flee in a homemade hot air balloon, risking imprisonment or death. After weeks of stitching on their first attempt, just metres shy of the West German border, their balloon crashes and the wreckage is found, triggering a desperate manhunt. On Thursday, Ventnor Art Clubs is screening Lightside, a journey with David Prowse at 7:30. With rare and exclusive access to Prowse, the British actor who portrayed Darth Vader in the original Star Wars trilogy, the documentary brings a fresh perspective to a celebrated career. Prowse also featured in Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange and trained Christopher Reeve for 1978's Superman, so it is bound to be a revealing evening.
First Act stars prepare their own version of Treasure Island. Pirates, goodies and buried treasure will all star alongside cast members in First Act Theatre Group's upcoming show. The group, for adults with additional needs, is busy rehearsing Treasure Island, according to First Act. The production is loosely based on Robert Louis Stevenson's classic story Treasure Island. It follows young Jim and the pirate Long John Silver as they compete to keep hold of a map to find the buried treasure. Their journey, of course, is not without adventure, giving the audience plenty of chances to boo the baddies and cheer the goodies. There's even a parrot thrown in for good measure. The show takes place at Shanklin Theatre on Monday, December the 9th and Tuesday, December the 10th. Both shows start at 6:30 p.m. Tickets are available from Shanklin Theatre's website or box office.
The Isle of Wight Youth Concert Band are performing a Christmas concert at Medina Theatre on Sunday the 15th of December at 2:30 p.m. The conductor is Martin Stroud and the compere Michael Arnell, and tickets are on sale from the 6th of December.
Jack up the summer. Heather and Heaven 17 signed up for summer. One of the most distinctive voices in music, Heather Small, is to headline Sunday night at next year's Jack Up the Summer. The fun-filled retro festival returns next August and is bringing artists unable to perform at last year's event due to the weather. Heaven 17, Aswad and the Stranglers frontman Hugh Cornwell. Other pre-confirmed acts include Big Country and From the Jam. After selling several million records and winning 2 Brit Awards, Heather Small is one of the country's most successful female recording artists. She shot to fame in the late 90s as the lead singer of dance outfit M People, known for its hits including Moving On Up, One Night in Heaven and Search for the Hero. Her rich and distinctive voice earned her the reputation of being one of Britain's most accomplished soul divas. She also had great success with 2 solo albums. The title track of her Proud album went on to become the soundtrack to a whole host of special events, including London's successful 2012 Olympic bid. Heather appeared in The Big Top at the Isle of Wight Festival this year. She said, "I absolutely love the Isle of Wight and heard so many great things about Jack Up during my recent time here that I just had to make it my next port of call." Heaven 17 was the first act announced. The 80s act was due to appear in August this year, but bad weather meant the festival couldn't open on the Saturday. The band was born from the ashes of the Human League and is famed for its hits including Temptation and pioneered icy electronica and futuristic funk. With the Friday included in the price of weekend tickets, there's more to look forward to at the 2020 festival. Mainstream early bird tickets go on sale on Monday, December the 9th, online at jackupthesummer.co.uk and at the County Press office in Newport. Children aged 12 and under go free. Teen tickets for 13 to 17-year-olds are half price. Jack Up the Summer takes place at North Fairley Farm on August the 7th, 8th and 9th.
More Hollywood greats for Isle of Wight showbiz reporter. Isle of Wight showbiz writer and broadcaster John Hannam has recently interviewed two of Britain's most highly celebrated actors, Dame Judi Dench and Sir Ian McKellen. Dame Judi was performing at the Ashcroft Playhouse, Croydon, and Sir Ian was interviewed backstage at London's Harold Pinter Theatre, where he is appearing in his one-man show, Ian McKellen on Stage. John told the County Press, "Sir Ian was in brilliant form and so friendly. I spent an hour in his company. Both Dame Judi and Sir Ian proved real stars are a joy to be with. There were no egos to contend with. They were just two lovely people who were both so grateful for their very successful careers." Who could possibly follow these two British treasures for John's next interview? Sir Ian came up with a suggestion, currently under wraps, but he told John to mention his name and say he personally said they must do it. The last time John had such a remarkable double was back in 1999, when within a month he'd interviewed Hollywood legend Charlton Heston at Piccadilly Hotel and Sir John Mills at his home. John's recently televised interview with Marty Wilde, recorded live at the St Albans Arena, was watched by nearly 70,000 on Talking Pictures channel. It is likely to be repeated soon. John's latest book, More White Connections, is proving his fastest selling book. It includes 100 chapters on island people and 63 photos of past island groups and entertainers, which are also proving popular. John will be signing copies at several locations before Christmas, and autographed copies are available at the County Press office in Pyle Street, Newport.
Hard-hitting Hose commits to Bears. Hard-hitting batsman and former Ventnor cricketer Adam Hose has agreed a 2-year contract extension with Warwickshire County Cricket Club. Hose, 27, joined the Bears in 2017 and has become a regular fixture across all 3 formats, having made 15 first-class, 7 List A and 32 T20 appearances to date. He was also part of the teams that reached the Vitality Blast final in 2017 and won Division 2 of the County Championship in 2018. His impressive credentials in T20 cricket have seen him drafted to Birmingham Phoenix for the inaugural season of the 100 in 2020. Paul Farbrace, Sport Director at Warwickshire CCC, said, "Adam is a tremendously talented cricketer who has the ability to become a star of the white ball game, not just in the UK, but in premier tournaments around the world. We see Adam as an important part of our long-term plans in all 3 formats, and his challenge now is to refine his red ball game and build on this year's maiden first-class 100 versus Nottinghamshire. We have every confidence he can continue developing to make more match-winning contributions across all formats. I was made to feel very welcome when I joined Warwickshire," said Adam. "It's a special club and I'm very proud to be a Bear. The management have shown great faith in me and I want to reward them for that by contributing more match-winning winnings. We demonstrated that this young squad has character and could fight when the chips were down last season. With so many young players in the squad, we're going to be much stronger from this year's experience, And if we can keep developing, we have every chance of being in a position to challenge for trophies again soon.
And that's all we have time for today. So it's goodbye from Madeline.
And goodbye from Alison.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Tonight, the Royal National Institute of Blind People's fight to steady the ship after what by its own admission has been a rocky few years. A series of financial deficits and then an investigation last year by the Charities Commission into its safeguarding policies, leading to the RNIB's closing a residential school for visually impaired children with additional disabilities. The RNIB acknowledged on this programme that it had let people down, and it's been undertaking a thorough look at what its role ought to be for the future. Some of the news is better, a 3.8 million surplus in its latest accounts and a rebranding of the organisation with the strapline, "See Things Differently." Whatever that might mean, we will be asking that question in a moment. But it's just emerged that the RNIB is selling Tate House Care Home in Harrogate, Kathleen Chambers House Care Home, that's in Burnham-on-Sea in Somerset, and Wavertree House Care Home in Hove. It's also selling its remaining schools and colleges, so that's Loughborough College, Sunshine House School in Northwood and Three Spires Academy in Coventry. So where does this fit in with its strategy for the future? Well, Matt Stringer took over as Chief Executive of the RNIB in May, and in our first interview with him, I'm going to ask him, why do this, Matt, and why now?
Well, the Board of Trustees a couple of years ago decided that we would transfer our regulated older people's care homes. I think it's critical to use the verb transfer here, from our management to other management. I think the view 2 years ago was that we were running a few homes, maybe without the scale that would allow them to be great going forwards. And that decision was taken 2 years ago. So I've come into the role, as you said, 6 months ago, inheriting that strategy and that programme. I think it's the right thing to do because I think as an organisation, we need to reach the majority of people in the blind and partially sighted sector. And in running a few homes and schools and colleges, we're only touching a very few people. And we think in transferring those to very, very strong providers, we'll be able to kick on in our strategy of actually providing greater services to the majority in the sector.
But when you say transfer, you do mean selling, and you don't know who those providers might be, do you? How do you know, and who's going to buy them?
Well, the primary concern of the programme, and it's been absolutely sort of main criterion that I have made sure is absolutely front and centre of the programme, is that we transfer them to providers who will maintain the service. And that's a critical thing, maintaining the service that we've provided over many years with lots of very diligent and committed staff that maintain the service so the residents, the pupils and the students will have an enduring service, very much in the image of what they have at the moment. So it's a transfer, it's not a sale.
But given their specialist nature, these schools and colleges, who do you see as potential buyers or people to whom you'll transfer? But they will be buyers, won't they?
Yeah, there will be a sale, but I say transfer and it's not an exit or a sale to sell it for housing or anything like that.
But money will change hands.
Money will change hands, but the critical point is that we will transfer them to providers who will maintain the services. So
but there aren't that many organisations around with this kind of specialist knowledge, are there?
We've had a good list, honestly, Peter, of people emerging to show an interest in all of them.
Can you mention any names?
I honestly can't. Really, I can't. That would be inappropriate for me to do.
One or many? Because, I'm not asking this just to wind you up. I'm asking you because I'm thinking who those people might be.
There are a number of people. I won't put a number on it. It's a reasonable field. We are looking, I think, from a position of strength across a good field of providers.
But you said money would change hands. How much money are you hoping to make and save from these sales? Because, as I said at the beginning, money's an issue for you, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is, and money will change hands, but it's not the primary concern is to optimise the return. As I say, the primary concern is to make sure we look after those people who are currently in our establishment.
But it wouldn't necessarily be a criticism of you to say
No, it wouldn't. Well,
because you need to think, how do we spend the money for the best
this
interests
is
of
the
most
point.
people?
So I'm going to come on to say, clearly we have a duty as a charity to get a fair value for it. So we will be doing that. The Charity Commission will be no doubt keeping a close eye on us as we transfer the services, and we will need to make sure to all stakeholders, actually, of which there are only one, that we can properly show that we got a fair price for.
Are you saying you won't do this if you're not satisfied that whoever you're transferring them to will be able to do the job?
I think that's a hypothetical question.
It's
because
not.
It is, because from where I sit today, I know we're in a position of strength with a good field.
These are very attractive properties, and there are many other more lucrative uses to which potential buyers could put it. Are you saying that you would actually turn them down if they came along with an eye-watering offer?
I am saying that, yes, actually.
This is, of course, about people,
Indeed,
as you
yeah.
said. We've talked to most of the establishments which are up for sale or transfer. They all very politely referred us back to the London RNIB press office, to whom we talk all the time, of course.
Indeed.
And they declined to answer questions about how they and their residents felt about the sales.
Yeah.
This decision hasn't been that highly publicised. We stumbled across it and saw no press release, but we can hear the voice of a resident of the Tate House Centre at Harrogate talking on a video made for the RNIB about its residential homes.
I'm Dorothy Hansford, and I'm 92, I have to think. I've lived here for 4 years, Tate House. I'm very happy here. They really do treat us as individuals and encourage us to do everything that we can do. Tate House do arrange for me to get to things. So I go to the partially sighted centre in town twice a week. They encourage us, you see, things that we can walk around the garden, and there are rails everywhere. I'm very blessed at 92 still to be able to have an interesting life. And I've done a lot more things since I came here than I did before.
Matt Stringer, listening to that, how do you think people like Dorothy will feel? I mean, it is, after all, her home.
No, it is. And, one thing to say, Peter, we put a press release out last week, and we've been very focused on making sure the communication to all the people involved
Wasn't sent to us.
Well, it was put out generally, but anyway, I don't know about that. But I think the critical point I'm trying to make here is myself and my executive team went out and personally did all the communication in the houses. I went to Kathleen Chambers' house. I was at Loughborough. So we had executive teams in the houses talking to residents, relatives, staff, taking questions in an open-ended fashion. And I think the message for Dorothy and all the other residents is, as I said before, the primary criterion of this programme is to make sure that we absolutely transfer the services over so that Dorothy and others enjoy a sort of seamless experience in the homes and don't see any diminution of service. And the other thing I would just add is what we'll be doing as the RNIB is making sure that we have an ongoing close relationship with the new provider and making sure RNIB staff and volunteers appropriately are visiting and in those establishments to maintain a strong presence and provide point services to people that need them.
Just to be clear, on the website it said an update from the CEO.
Okay, well, I apologise if we didn't explicitly send you the press release, but I'm sure our intention was not to try and hide this away, was to put it out into the open, and here we are talking about it a week later, so we're not trying to shy away from this one.
How long have the residential centres and the schools and colleges known themselves? And I guess, to be fair, how long have the residents known?
We've been speaking to all the managers of the establishments for many months to make sure they have a hand in the shape of the programme, in the comms, and clearly talking to them about some of the providers emerging and showing an interest in their establishments. So, we've very much been working with the management teams locally on all the establishments for many months. There's no great time, clearly, to sort of surface with the news, and we felt that we were at a time in the programme that we knew more about the likely direction of travel and how long it would take, that it was now the right time to talk to people.
It wasn't in the annual report.
No, the annual report was last year, so we probably wouldn't have put it in the annual report. But as I say, I think we weren't.
It was only recently published.
Well, the report is for last year's activities, isn't it? So that would finish at the end of March. So whilst,
but you did talk a lot about your plans, your vision, what you thought the organisation was going to be. There was no mention of selling residential homes and schools.
Well, two things. So the annual report considers last year's activities. Clearly, this was not appropriate to put it in the annual report. And as I said, the timing was right in the last couple of weeks to go public with the news, and as I say, put a lot of focus into making sure there was that sort of personal contact on the ground.
You say this decision has been taken after careful consideration, that was said in your message.
Yeah.
Isn't this really a direct reaction to the fallout from the closure of the Pears Centre in Coventry, where the RNIB's ability to safeguard pupils was called into question, and the Charity Commission suggested that you might lose, at the time, your registration to run residential care facilities? That's what this is about, isn't it?
It isn't, actually, because the decision was taken in 2017 before the Pears Centre sort of issues emerged, and clearly the Pears Centre, were very apologetic about what happened, and that led to that centre closing in November 2018. What
did the Charity Commission's statutory inquiry into the RNIB's residential facilities after the closure of the Pears Centre, what did that report? Because at the time of your annual report, it was still sitting. And what's been done as a result of what they said?
Well, clearly the work on the Charity Commission statutory inquiry is still sort of going on. They haven't published yet. We are working very...
Do you know what they're saying?
Well, I have clearly in my time here sort of picked up accountability for that, and we have a positive professional relationship with the Charity Commission, and working to a publication date.
I mean, are you jumping as far as residential centres are concerned before you're pushed?
No, there's been no push by the Charity Commission or encouragement by the Charity Commission to dispose of transfer our establishments. That really hasn't been the case.
So just to look more broadly at your plans, it's no secret that the RNIB is looking at every aspect of what its role should be in the future and how it can make the most effective use of its finances after that succession of annual losses. As the new CEO, you've now had a few months to look at the situation. What conclusions have you come to about what the RNIB's role should be and how it maybe might change?
We do a lot that I'm inordinately proud of. I've come in and I've spent a lot of time in my 6 months consciously getting round the organisation, and not just sitting in Judd Street in London, but getting round our services in devolved nations. We do some fantastic things. Every week we are improving the lives of thousands of people. Our sight loss advice service, touches about 50,000+ people a year. This year we'll have about 60,000 people who will be helped by an eye clinic liaison officer in hospitals, and I visited many of those. We have 1.4 million talking books that go to customers. About 50,000 customers buy products from an RNIB shop to improve their lives. So
and many of our listeners would acknowledge many of the things that you've said and have benefited from them. Yeah. I guess the question in a way is, can you do all of them, and have you decided what you can continue with?
There are more people out there, I think, that we can help through the services the RNIB offer. So all those impressive stats I've just given you are great, but I think they're a start, and I think part of what we need to do is have a bit more insight into the community and to make sure that we are sort of curating goods and services to put in front of more people and investing in different ways that we can put those services in front of people through increasing digitisation, for example, and those sorts of things. So I don't think it's necessarily stopping a lot of things than what we do. We'll trim some things, I think, but actually I think we do a lot of very good things, and we could actually advance those and put those in front of more people.
It might be argued, of course, that you could do more because you're going to be given some freedom by the money that you will release from running the residential care homes. Have you seen things that you would like to see more? So, you've closed care homes, you've closed schools. They're expensive to run, with the best will in the world. This releases money.
It does, and I think we need to invest a bit more money in some of our digital platforms and our sort of knowledge and management of customers, and so we can understand who's out there, what they need, and do a better job of touching them. So I think there's some investment in our digital platforms that we need to make to move the organisation on to be a little bit more advanced in that field. So certainly there are things there that we can invest in where we've got great things that we do now. We're not fully optimised, and we could do a whole lot more with a bit of investment.
The RNIB has rebranded itself with the phrase, see things differently. What does that say? What do you want that to say? Because it could appear rather vague.
What the strategy was trying to do last year when that rebranding was done was, I think, to try and get people to see the person, not the sight loss. to try and humanise it a bit more and make the point that people with some sort of visual impairment are absolutely normal sort of contributing members of society, clearly, and we wanted people to see that as opposed to seeing the condition as the primary thing. So I think that campaign has gone down very well actually, and was well timed to coincide with our 150th anniversary.
Wouldn't that be more convincing if the RNIB demonstrated that faith in blind people's abilities by employing more of them?
Well, we employ quite a lot of people in the RNIB who are...
What is the figure? That isn't mentioned in the annual report either.
It's about 10% of the workforce at the moment.
Is that high enough?
Probably not. I mean, I think one of the things I've been pushing in my 6 months has been around employment, not just with us, but also trying to build a campaign that we're going to do next year, which is trying to get businesses and other sort of partners engaged in the employment sort of opportunity of taking visually impaired people into work, which clearly is a problem in society, not just for us.
I mean, are you a bit embarrassed, to be honest, about that figure, that 10%? I mean, you are the organisation which is telling other organisations that they ought to be employing more visually impaired people. You provide facilities that you advise people about getting jobs. It would be much more convincing if that figure was a good deal higher, wouldn't it?
Clearly, we should be pushing for it to be as high as it can be. I mean, in my time, as I say, I put my shoulder to the wheel on employment as a theme, because I think there is a big challenge in society generally for employers not to consider people across the spectrum of disability, actually, slightly carelessly. And I think we could work hard with businesses to make the point about how much talent they're missing out on. Internally, yes, you're right, we should be an exemplar. We've set up in my time a new accessibility forum to make sure that we are beyond reproach when it comes to how we employ people, induct people, and that's partly the physical environment. We've just sort of refurbished lick of paint our office, but as I say, we've done a lot around visibly better standards to improve the environment for blind and partially sighted people. And
weren't you surprised to take over an organisation where you still had to do this, whether this work had to be done? This should have been happening for years, shouldn't it?
Well, you'll have to ask previous regimes, but I mean, all I'm doing is sort of playing what I find, and there's lots of people at the RNIB who've done a brilliant job for many years and supported the principle of employment. I think it's just timely that we sort of go again. Clearly, a new CEO would come in and find some things to do. So,
is the financial situation really what you've been brought in to? You come from a commercial background. You would be expected to know about money. Is that really what you're there to do?
Honestly, I don't think that is. I mean, I've been used to running the numbers at businesses, yes, but I mean, I think that's just one strand. I think, as I say, having some ideas on how we take our, excellent services that we offer at the moment and are able to put those in front of more customers through, knowledge of the customer, I think is also a strand that was probably a good part of my background.
How easily do you think retail experience transfers to the charitable sector?
Well, I mean, I think general commercial experience, I think, gives you, to the question, your previous question, gives you, I think, skills and experience at managing some generic things like, finance and sort of making sure that is well run. I think retail particularly, I think, you're used to running a dispersed workforce, often in hundreds of stores. Most people are not in the main office, and therefore getting out and about, to go and visit and see what's going on, on the shop floor, as it were, I think is an important skill in our organisation, where the minority of our team are based in London or based in a sort of central office. And most people are out, in dispersed services, and we have, 2,500 volunteers as well. So I think, that ability to understand a dispersed organisation and be able to sort of communicate to it, I think is a transferable skill from retail.
Matt Stringer, the RNIB's new CEO. Your comments, please. You can call us and leave a message on 0161 836 1338. Email in touch at bbc.co.uk or go on our website. That's bbc.co.uk/in touch, from where you can also download tonight's and other editions of the programme. From me, Peter Wight, producer Lee Kumatat and the team, goodbye.
Here is the scaffolding news for Friday the 29th of November. The list of known footway obstructions for works including scaffolding, hoarding, also details of skips, cranes and cherry pickers. We're unable to include end dates, as many are extended on a week-by-week basis. Ryde, Seaview and Bembridge. scaffolding at Boots, 170 High Street Ryde, 55 Union Street Ryde, 79 Park Road, Player Street Ryde, flat 31 to 36 Marymead Ryde. Skips at 54 St John's Wood Road Ryde, 13 Surrey Street Ryde. In Cowes, East Cowes and Gurnard, 1 Bath Road Cowes, 42 Regency House High Street Cowes, Cameos 16 Bath Road Cowes, 5 to 7 York Avenue East Cowes. Hoarding at former Yorkie Bar Link Road East Cowes, a Crane and Cherry Picker at the Fountain Inn Hotel, Town Quay Cowes, Crane at 13 Shore Road, Gurnard, Crane at Royal Ocean Racing Club Cowes, and Skips 25 Thetis Road Cowes.
Newport. Monsoon, 48 to 49 High Street, Newport. 146 High Street, Newport. 14 Trafalgar Road, Newport. 10A St James's Street, Newport. EE Shop, 122 High Street, Newport. Phones for You, High Street, Newport. 36 Key Street, Newport. Building Materials, Carisbrooke Road, junction with Wellington Road, Newport.
Sandown, scaffolding and crane, scaffolding at 43 Fitzroy Street, Sandown, scaffolding at Premier Inn, 1 to 9 Esplanade, Sandown, crane at Premier Inn, 1 to 9 Esplanade, Sandown. Ventnor, scaffolding, corner of Madeira Road, Ventnor, Old Town Hall, 1 to 12 Albert Street, Ventnor, 1 Blendworth Terrace, Ventnor, Point Cottage, Church Street, Knighton, Skips, 16 South Street, Ventnor, and in Freshwater, scaffolding, 3 Moor Place, Freshwater.